Hello, this is Sarah. Today I wanted to do a trilingualism update for my daughter Emilia. She is 3 years old now. If you don't know us, she is growing up with 3 languages, Albanian, Italian and French. I speak to her in Albanian, her father speaks to her in Italian, and she is learning French from daycare. And I think I left you that at 2.5 I was worried about her French because she had kind of stopped talking in French, and I will cover this later on in the video, but I'm gonna tell you that I remained worried for a while and then things started looking up better. I was reading a book that I found online about the multilingual issues, and I'm gonna link it in the description box below. And I was reading that initially there was this researcher saying that the children at early stages, they start with one unique language system, and then as time goes by, they kind of start distinguishing between, say, 2 different languages. And I never felt that for Emilia, and in fact later on research suggested that no, they can distinguish from very early on that there are different language systems. For example, a bilingual child can distinguish between the 2 languages, and as they start learning more grammar rules, they distinguish even better. And I would say it's more or less the same also for a trilingual child. I always thought that she was learning Albanian, French and Italian in different ways with different rates, and I could say different things for how she's developing in Italian, Albanian and French. But first I want to give you some kind of an overview of some observation that I've seen in her overall as a trilingual child. First of all, I get a lot these comments on how is she doing and how is she doing now from people that happen to see my videos, and I am truly glad that we went for it. There is a little bit of more work, I think, for her and for us as parents, but I'm really glad, and I'm happy to see her being able to communicate in the 3 languages. Compared to a monolingual child, I think I'm always surprised how much a monolingual child can be more expressive than my daughter. So, but this happens in French, or sometimes it might happen in Italian, not always. It depends how good a child at her same age is. I think that's normal. It's part of the fact that she's kind of learning 3 languages, and in Italian and in French she is less expressive because she has less vocabulary and less grammar rules, and they are still she's still learning them. Mixing is usually an issue with bilingual or multilingual children, and I've seen mixing reduce so much in Emilia. For example, in Albanian she knows more words and she doesn't mix. Most of her phrases are pure Albanian. But when she wants to say to her father the same thing, she might not know how the same word is in Italian, so she might borrow from Albanian to construct an Italian phrase. Between me and her father, she can switch language even on the fly. So she's talking to me, she might say something to me and then turn her head, and her father's on the other side, and she can say the same thing. When she is out of this context, so when she is say in a playground, I notice that she still doesn't realize that the other kids are monolingual and they can understand only French. With strangers she is very reserved and she doesn't want to talk. She rather uses gestures, and I don't know if this is trilingualism related or it's just my child is like that. However, I tend to attribute it to the trilingualism. It's not that she doesn't interact with strangers, but she uses gestures instead. For example, she has a toy and she will kind of show them, and if they ask her how old are you, she would say like this, but she won't say it in words. I've talked to you about Denver previously, and if you are curious, I'm gonna link one video here. She has this kind of appointments where it's like a routine screening, and they also tested her diction, and apparently the word, for example, carrot, is very difficult. The lady tried several words, and she said that Emilia has a good diction. She speaks well. And I can tell you it's the same in Albanian. In Albanian, she is, oh my god, she talks a lot. I would say Albanian is still her first language. Albanian is very difficult, a very difficult language, and she can do some difficult things too. She can decline words. We have 5 declinations depending on how the phrase is constructed, and she can kind of do that pretty well. She makes a good use of plurals, but not of the irregular ones. And she's using past and present, but she doesn't have a clear distinction between what is if she might use it in the wrong way. She has learned a lot of Italian this past 6 months. Now she can express herself in Italian pretty well. She can do even long phrases. I remember during this 6 months there was one point where my husband was, wow, she can say a phrase of 5 words in Italian. Now she's even more expressive. She's not very good at reflecting the gender. In Italian, especially in the adjective. So in Italian, if you want to say my mother is beautiful, you say it one way, but if you want to say my father is beautiful, you would say another way. So it's mamma è bella e papà è bello. So the adjective changes at the end, how it ends, but she's not able to always reflect that, and she might say papà è bella, which is wrong. In French, we had a period that we were very worried because she wasn't talking. She stopped singing in French, playing in using French during play. And her daycare teachers were saying she's not talking much, but not in a worried way. They were not worried because she could still communicate very little, but she would say what she needed. So what we attributed it to is that she was playing very well with a little girl that was 6 months older, but she had to change groups, and then she was left with kids that were all 2.5 years old and smaller. So she was not stimulated to talk a lot, plus she had this kind of separation from her best friend, so she suddenly stopped, but we didn't do anything particular. We just let her be like in that way. A month before turning 3, she changed group, and she was back with her friend, and she had all the older kids, so she got a lot better. She started interacting in French, and the reason why I know this is because at the beginning I saw her interacting with gestures with her daycare teacher, and I got worried, so I expressed that to her daycare teachers, and now they keep an eye on her, and they tell me when she is interacting a lot or participating during play. So this is how I know it, that she interacts very well. She interacts better with smaller kids than with adults. She's very reserved still with her daycare teachers. She talks little, but she can make phrases. Yeah, that was all for trilingualism at the age of 3. I hope you liked the video. Please, any questions, leave them below. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye bye. We went to Albania, and she, compared to other 2-year-old children, she could speak a lot.